Hi there, Steve Kaufman here. I'm back in Vancouver. Happy to be back. It's a beautiful day. It's sunny. There's been a sprinkling of snow. The snow is still on the ground. Vancouver is beautiful. In the winter, when we have sunshine and snow, nothing beats it. And it's warm, a couple of degrees above zero centigrade. Today, I want to talk about language learning as a personal journey. It's our own thing. I think one of the first things I wrote when I thought about writing a book on language learning 10 years ago was that we have to take charge of our own learning. It's our own thing. And this has many implications. For example, there was a discussion at our forum at Link, and this happens quite often. People say, how long should I stay on one lesson before I move to the next? Should I understand it 95% before I move on? And I said, no, it depends. If I like it, I stay with it. If I don't like it, I move on. It doesn't matter how much of it I understand. Once I'm bored, I have to move on. Other people echoed some of the same thoughts. One person said, I move on when I understand 150%. And it was kind of tongue in cheek. And what he meant was that he puts a lot of meaning in there, which isn't even there. And then I was reminded, and I commented on our forum, I was reminded of the quote or the comment by Rubem Alves, this great Brazilian educator who recently passed away and who I listened to a lot when I was learning Portuguese, who's got a lovely voice and has wonderful, sort of a wonderful attitude towards education. And he said that nothing quite destroys the enjoyment of reading, and he was a great proponent of reading. Nothing quite destroys the enjoyment of reading as much as being asked to analyze, explain, answer questions about things that we have read. And I entirely agree with that. When I read something, say if I'm at an early stage in language learning, I'll read something, I'll kind of half understand it. When I read it 6 months later, I have a different understanding. But even that first half misunderstood meaning that I got from it was still satisfying to me. It's my interpretation of that text, and 6 months later I might have a different interpretation. But even that incorrect interpretation, however far removed it was from the intention of the writer, it doesn't prevent me from enjoying the language. It doesn't prevent me from improving in the language. And so I do believe that there's far too much testing and questioning. And some of you who may remember, these teachers who are going to teach critical thinking and so forth, just let people enjoy the language however they interpret what they're listening to and reading. Language is a personal journey. And I mention that because, I've mentioned in the past that, for example, for Romanian, I had to go to Odesk and find people who would translate these hundreds of basic sort of phrase patterns that I wanted to hear in Romanian, translate and record for me. So, but at any rate, for Korean, I've been struggling to find something that's interesting and yet not too difficult for me. The podcast that I found, Kim Young Ha, and also this Shisatong, which I've had transcribed, which I study, it's fun, it's interesting, but it's a little difficult. And again, a quote I often repeat from Manfred Spitzer's book, the brain needs repetition. In other words, some consolidation because you're going over material that's familiar to you, words that you've seen many times, and all of this is helping to make sure it sticks with you. But the brain also needs novelty, it needs interest. And so you have to find a balance, something that's not too difficult and yet interesting. And so I have these podcasts transcribed, but it's still difficult. So I decided, hey, maybe I should go and talk to people. So I contacted this meetup group. I checked, Nowadays, of course, never has it been better to be a independent learner in charge of our own learning, because you just go to the web and you can find things. So I Google, Korean language meetup Vancouver, and lo and behold, there is such an organization. So I send a little note on their website saying, here I am, I would like to join your group and practice my Korean. And they have a sort of a language exchange between Koreans who want to learn English and locals here in Vancouver, English speakers, or other speakers perhaps, but people who want to learn Korean. So I say, yes, I'd like to join your group. So I get back this message, and I thought it was kind of amusing. Hello, Steve. Thank you for your interest in learning Korean. This is from Kevin. The club works by meeting together and having language exchange in downtown Vancouver on a weekly basis. We don't teach online or on the website, in brackets, if that's what you're looking for. Well, I hadn't indicated in any way that I was looking for online instruction. Maybe he looked through my profile and saw that I was connected with the website. Then he follows up, the next paragraph, would attendance be a problem for you? 2 no-shows will have the member banned and removed from the club. Next, this club isn't for beginners. In order to join the group, one will need something equivalent to, it says here, Lesson 2 Korean class at Langara College, whatever that is. And then he says, we will provide a written exam to see what level you're at. Please let me know if this still interests you. Thank you, Kevin. So, my initial reaction was, I've been to Russian language meetups here in Vancouver. I went quite a few times. Some of the same people showed up, some different people. We had one lady, Chinese lady, who couldn't speak a word of Russian. People humored her to some extent. I went when I could go, and when I couldn't go, I didn't go. I've gone to these polyglot gatherings. We've had some here in Vancouver. You meet people, you move from one table to another, and also in Paris, the Polyglot Club. I've been there on 2 occasions when I was in Paris. And it's just all of these social time, interacting with people, speaking different languages. It's fine. Nobody asked me for my credentials. And I find it, I guess, strange. First of all, the idea that, 2 no-shows and you'll be banned. Well, people travel. What's a no-show? Like I say I'm going to come and I don't come, or I simply can't come every week. Banned for life, removed from the club, unreal. And then the idea that they would test me. Now, since this is a language exchange, any Korean speaker who wants to work on his English would get a native speaker, me. If my Korean isn't up to snuff, what does it matter? That's my half of it. I'm working on my Korean, whatever my level might be. So, it gets back to this idea that why are people imposing rules and regulations and asking questions and so forth? It's just language. I want to get some exposure to the language. So I haven't answered this fellow yet. I don't know what to answer him. I may just not even bother answering. But I'm certainly not going to attend this club and be banned if I don't show up. So then I went back to Odesk, and I've decided that what I'm going to do in order to create more lessons that kind of bridge from sort of uninteresting but simpler material to this more advanced material that I'm trying to do, I said on Odesk, I'm looking for someone who can have conversations with me in Korean on history, or especially recent history, or politics, life in Korea, this kind of thing. And then we will speak. And then I want a write-up summarizing our discussion, using some of the words and phrases, and some of the phrasing that I had difficulty with. And then this text should be written up and then recorded. And it should be about 5 minutes in length. So that I would get out of this a 5-minute lesson, including, first of all, on a subject of interest, and using phrasing and sentence structure and words that were relevant to the discussion or that I had difficulty with. And then I will import these into LingQ. I will study them on LingQ and gradually acquire the words and phrases that matter to me on subjects of interest to me. And so, again, this is just to stress the idea that language learning is about us, the learners. It's our own personal thing. It's between the language and us. So we have to take responsibility for our learning. We pursue things of interest to us. We study the way we like to study. And the more we do that, the better we'll do, in my opinion. And the more we rely on someone else to impose things on us, to force us to study certain lessons, insist that we meet certain, levels and all this kind of thing, the more we take the initiative away from the learner, the less successful, in my experience. Now, it may be that other people require that kind of discipline imposed from someone else. One other thing too, I'm not suggesting that I don't like going to meetups. I do like going to meetups, but I like them to be casual and informal. And if it were not for this, I would say, less than welcoming response, I would probably be going to the Korean language meetups in addition to the online conversation slash transcript audio recording that I would use then as a lesson. I would combine the two of them, because I'm reaching a stage in my career where I need to speak more and more. But anyway, that's what I had to say. And there's a bit of a hiccup there because I ran out of disk space. I then emptied my trash can, and I was able to add a little bit at the end to complete the video. So thank you for listening. Bye for now.